The restaurant was buzzing that Friday night, every table filled, the air thick with the smell of roasted garlic and sizzling steaks. Among the noise of clinking cutlery and laughter, 26-year-old Maya balanced a tray of drinks on one hand and a stack of plates on the other. To most of the guests, she was invisible, just another waitress in a black apron and a weary smile. But what they didn't know was that beneath her calm surface, Maya carried the weight of the world, a single mother raising her little brother after their parents' passing, working double shifts to pay for his school fees and their tiny apartment. That night, she noticed something unusual at one of the corner tables. Seated there was a teenage boy, maybe 16, dressed in an expensive tailored jacket, tapping nervously on his phone while pushing his untouched food around the plate. Across from him sat a man older, powerful, and dressed in a sharp suit. His expression was cold, eyes glued to his laptop even in the middle of dinner. Maya didn't recognize them at first, but the whispers in the restaurant gave it away. It was Daniel Hayes, the billionaire CEO of a global tech empire, and his son, Ethan. Maya had served wealthy customers before, but there was something different about this boy. He looked pale, almost fragile, and when Maya leaned closer to place a glass of water by his side, she caught the tremor in his hands. She wanted to ask if he was okay, but Daniel Hayes was the kind of man who commanded silence. Minutes later, the boy suddenly slumped forward, his body shaking violently. The sound of the fork clattering onto the plate made the entire restaurant freeze. At first, Daniel looked annoyed, assuming his son was being dramatic. But Maya's instincts screamed something else. This wasn't a tantrum. This was a medical emergency. Without thinking twice, Maya rushed forward, dropping her tray on the floor. "He's having a seizure," she shouted. Some guests gasped, others pulled out their phones to record, but no one moved. Daniel Hayes stood frozen, his face pale but his body stiff, as though fear had paralyzed him. Maya didn't waste another second. She carefully turned Ethan onto his side, cushioning his head with her apron to prevent injury. She shouted to the manager, "Call an ambulance now." When no one reacted quickly enough, Maya knew she couldn't wait. She scooped up Ethan, who was much heavier than her small frame could handle, and with sheer adrenaline, carried him toward the exit. The billionaire's eyes widened. "Wait! What are you doing?" he demanded, his voice booming across the restaurant. "I'm saving your son's life." Maya snapped, not breaking stride. Out on the curb, she flagged down a taxi, still holding Ethan. The driver hesitated when he saw the boy convulsing, but Maya's desperate plea cut through his fear. "Please, if you have kids, you'd want someone to help them too." That was enough. The driver flung the door open, and Maya laid Ethan down, cradling his head as they sped toward the nearest hospital. Daniel finally followed, climbing into his black luxury car, but the sight of the waitress holding his son close in the taxi struck him deeply. For the first time in years, the billionaire wasn't in control, and it was this young woman who had taken charge. At the hospital, doctors rushed Ethan into emergency care. Maya stood outside the ward, her uniform stained, her hands trembling, but her heart praying the boy would survive. Daniel arrived minutes later, flanked by assistants, lawyers, and bodyguards. Everyone assumed Maya would quietly slip away, unnoticed and unimportant. But Ethan's weak voice changed everything. When the boy regained consciousness hours later, the first words he whispered weren't "Dad." They were, "Where's the waitress?" Daniel froze. "Son, I'm right here." Ethan shook his head weakly. "Not you, her. She saved me." The billionaire CEO, a man who had spent his life commanding boardrooms and building empires, suddenly felt small. He realized that while he had been too busy protecting his reputation and wealth, a stranger, a young black waitress society would have dismissed, had protected his son with everything she had. Daniel approached Maya awkwardly in the hallway. For a man used to issuing orders, saying thank you felt foreign. I owe you my son's life," he admitted, his voice breaking in a way that shocked even himself. But Maya wasn't looking for thanks or rewards. She simply said, "Every life is worth saving. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. He's just a boy who needed help." Those words pierced Daniel's heart deeper than any business rival ever could. For years, he had measured worth in billions, contracts, and deals. But here stood a woman who measured worth in kindness. the challenges didn't end there. The doctors revealed that Ethan had a rare heart condition that needed immediate surgery. But Ethan was terrified, not of the operation, but of being alone. His relationship with his father had been cold for so long that he didn't believe Daniel cared. "I want her there," Ethan said, pointing to Maya. And so, Maya stayed by his side through the sleepless nights, the painful treatments, and the fear of the unknown. She told Ethan stories about her little brother, how she worked tirelessly to give him a better life, and how sometimes family isn't about who you're born with, but who chooses to stand with you. Daniel watched from the sidelines, humbled, realizing he had failed to be the kind of father his son needed. Slowly, he began to change. He canceled meetings to sit by Ethan's bedside, asked Maya questions about her struggles, and listened, truly listened, for the first time in years. When the surgery finally ended successfully, the doctors declared Ethan stable. Relief washed over Daniel, but so did something else, gratitude. Publicly, the media spun the story into headlines: "Black waitress saves billionaire's son." But privately, Daniel saw it differently. Maya hadn't just saved Ethan's life. She had saved Daniel from himself. Weeks later, Daniel visited the small apartment where Maya lived with her brother. He was shocked to see how little they had, yet how much love filled the space. That day, he made a decision that stunned everyone. He offered Maya a position within his company, not as charity, but because he recognized her leadership, courage, and compassion, qualities money couldn't buy. Maya accepted, but only if her brother's education was also supported. Daniel agreed without hesitation. Over time, their lives intertwined, not through obligation, but through genuine respect and care. The world had expected a scandal, maybe a reward check handed off to a waitress. But what actually happened shocked everyone. A billionaire learned the value of humility, a boy gained a true father, and a struggling waitress found her strength recognized. The story became a symbol, proof that kindness knows no status, no race, no title. It reminded people that heroes are often the ones society overlooks, and that sometimes the richest person in the room is the one with the biggest heart. Call to action for viewers. And if this story touched your heart, I want to hear from you. What would you have done if you were in Maya's shoes that night? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters here. And don't forget to subscribe to Be Kind Always for more powerful and emotional stories that remind us of the good in humanity. Because at the end of the day, kindness is the true wealth we all carry.